In 1958, while he was busy studying for his college entrance exams and going slowly insane, the film Haku Jaden, Legend of the White Serpent, was released, and it's widely considered to be the first modern anime movie. And he fell in love with the main character. He literally developed a crush on the main character, and he calls her his surrogate girlfriend. Because of Haku Jaden, he managed to survive the hardest point in his life, and when he graduated as a political economist from Gakushuin University, he entered Toei Animation and started working on a lot of projects like Wolf Boy Ken, Gulliver's Space Travels, Hustle Punch, Flying Phantom Ship, Animal Treasure Island. He did a lot of work. Then, in 1971, he was approached and asked to do Lupin III. It was here that he started working with the man who would eventually become his partner in crime, Isao Takahata. And they worked on the first season of Lupin. Then they went on to do Panda Kopanda together. They did Samurai Giants, Renee Circus, Apennines to the Andes. Then he worked on Future Boy Conan, one of his first original animated shows. And in 1979, he was approached and told to do a Lupin movie. And he went and he did a Lupin movie. I want to talk a bit about that, but a little bit later. Then he goes abroad, does Sherlock Holmes and Little Nemo, and then he starts doing what we know him for. Nausicaa, Castle in the Sky, Totoro, Kiki, Porco Rosso, Whisper of the Heart, which a lot of people don't know. He pretty much did everything but direct. Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away. He continues to do movies to this day, either as the guiding hand, the guy with the ruler saying, "You're doing it wrong," or just like, "You're doing this so wrong, I'm taking your movie." Now, then we have Isao Takahata. He did some stuff, made a few movies, and he's that other guy in the studio. Actually, truth be told, Takahata is the other reason Ghibli has got such evocative nature. Miyazaki believes very strongly in using animation as a palate cleanser, a refreshing force, a playful way of relieving stress. Takahata thinks that you can do anything with animation that you want to do, provided you have the budget and the will to do it. So Takahata graduated with a degree from Tokyo University in French literature. He decided to go and push the boundaries of what animation could do. One of his first solo works, was Horusu, Prince of the Sun, that he worked with, and he pulled Miyazaki up and said, "You're going to work on this with me." The film was a critical flop, but it was known for being about 20 years ahead of its time. The things that Takahata put into that movie, if you watch it now, actually are wonderfully done, but at the time, it was considered so experimental, people didn't like it. Then he went and did things like Goshu the Cellist, Downtown Story, he produced Ocean Waves. In 1999, he did My Neighbors the Yamadas, which was a complete rejection of everything Ghibli stood for. Who here has seen My Neighbors the Yamadas? It's like somebody took a newspaper comic strip and animated it. It is playful, it is fun, it is entertaining, it is nothing you'd expect from Studio Ghibli, but it is something you would expect from a man who likes to push boundaries. So let's look at some of the films. Miyazaki. I'm talking about doing something with animation that can't be done with manga, children's lit, or films. I'm talking about building a truly imaginary world, tossing in characters I like, then creating a complete drama using them. His storyboard process is, okay, what kind of world am I working with today? Sentient plants. What kind of characters am I going to throw in there? Dick, humans in airships, girl with glider, flying squirrel. Okay, here, I think I got something going here. And they're going to look for the Shikan jewel. No, someone else is doing that. This kind of idea where he comes up with the world first. So his worlds feel real for a reason. Then he makes his characters. They feel real for a reason. Then he decides what he wants to do with them. So that's why his films are so different. Now, Miyazaki flat out says at one point in his life he was a total socialist. A total human-hating socialist. And you see it in some of his movies. He has this idealized view of what mankind should be, and since mankind at the time never measured up to that, he started hating humanity. If you watch all of Miyazaki's films in order, you're going to see the development of a person whose entire worldview is changing. But he started out like this. So when he was given Lupin III, he looked at the current Lupin storyline and said, okay, so Lupin is a spoiled rich kid who steals because he's bored. No, that's not going to work for me. I'm going to make him poor. He steals out of necessity. He's happy-go-lucky, but inside he's crying. So what you get in Lupin III, and especially in Castle Cagliostro, is an innocent guy with a heart of gold who likes to drive cars up the sides of mountains. Why? Because he can. So Miyazaki Lupin was a rejection of the Lupin character. He said, Lupin was born in an age of excess, where fast cars, loose women, money flying everywhere was seen as the idealization of Europe. Miyazaki did not like that, so he changed it. His version of Lupin is often considered to be the most definitive version of animated Lupin because he took the character and did what he wanted with it. And to Monkey Punch's credit, Monkey Punch didn't say anything about it, because it made Lupin ridiculously popular, and he carried on the franchise for years and years and years after it should have ended. But he worked on this first, and then the 1980s happened. Now, 1980s Japan was known for having this economic boom. There was risky loans. Their currency was shooting through the roof. They were speculating on their economy. There was urban expansion into the suburbs, overconsumption. 1987, Miyazaki and Takahata went to Yanagawa and filmed a documentary called The Story of the Yanagawa Canals, which was basically the story of a small town that told the prefectural government to go to hell. We're going to maintain our canals because this is our livelihood. This is what our town is known for. And they filmed it, if you can find it. It's a beautiful story of a town coming together, the best aspects of humanity coming together to revitalize a town that was being destroyed by this 1980s overconsumption attitude. Most people don't know that this film exists, but if you can find it, you see a lot of the same themes that Miyazaki rails on in his animation. You're seeing this idealized humanity showing up in person. So, Nausicaa. This is you can scream if you want. I'm not going to say anything. Here we go. He started on the manga before he started on the movie. In fact, the manga had been 2 years going when the movie started. Who here has read the manga? So you know that Nausicaa's a bitch in the manga. She's completely different in the manga than she is in the anime. In the movie, Nausicaa is this sort of Christ-like, perfect girl that can do no wrong and is doing everything out of the goodness of her own heart. In the manga, she's self-hating, she's ridiculously insecure, and there are points where she just wants to give up. But what most people notice about Nausicaa is that this is a movie about mankind done messed everything up, and nature is going to fix it by taking these giant insects and having them rampage through cities. This film is very anti-human. This is Miyazaki looking at the state of the world and saying, this is wrong, I don't like this, we're going to blow ourselves up and have to start over. So he made something where mankind has been destroyed. It's ridiculously unsympathetic. If you do not live in harmony with nature, you're a bad guy. That's it. No ifs, ands, or buts. No harmony with nature, you are a bad guy. While he was making this movie, he had a nervous breakdown. Between the manga forcing him to confront his own deep-seated resentments and the movie where he has to compromise those resentments, he had something of a nervous breakdown, and then this movie came out. Now, there's Laputa, mankind again. You're looking to reclaim a lost civilization, something we are responsible for the loss of this great technology, this perfect world destroyed by our own hubris. Now mankind is trying to find a way to get it back. Miyazaki asserts that it's just a story, boy meets girl, boy almost drops girl down well, boy finds out girl is the person he's been looking for his entire life, boy goes to Sky City, befriends robot blows some stuff up. You know, it's a really classic epic story about a boy meeting a girl, but the thing that makes it really interesting is these two films have a sort of written in continuity. Now, Miyazaki says the two worlds could actually be the same world. Laputa could be before or after Nausicaa based on how you view it. But it's a re-exploration of this view he has of humanity. He's looking at humanity again. Instead of saying mankind bad on the whole, mankind, okay, some mankind is bad, but the rest of mankind can be good. I don't know, I got a headache. So he moves on and he does, looking at the post-war period. Miyazaki now has confronted who he is, the man that he has become, so he decides to look back to the Japan of his youth. In the post-war period, he moved from Tokyo all the way out into the country. And he did it for his family was in, his mother was in failing health. He they moved to a larger house in an agrarian community where it was calmer, slower. What has become known as the two Japans model. You have urban Japan, technology, bustle, speed, hard life. Agrarian Japan hasn't changed much since the Edo period. They have electricity now. There's a couple of phones in the town. And this idea that there were these two Japans existing simultaneously, Miyazaki went back to his youth, looked at this other Japan, and decided to make a movie about it. Now, I'm simultaneously going to make your day and ruin your day at the same time. My Neighbor Totoro is drawn from his youth, moving out into the country. The scenes where Satsuki and Mei are running around the house yelling at the soot sprites, him and his brother did that. The scenes where they're fetching water from the well, they did that. Climbing around in trees and looking in shrines, he did that. So, on one hand, he's looking back at his youth and making this heartwarming, refreshing little story about growing up in this Japan, innocent, pure, and loving, strong family devotion. He also could have been writing about a murder. Last year, a blog post was put up comparing My Neighbor Totoro to the Sayama murders of the 1960s, where a young girl is kidnapped and killed. The sister finds the body and claims she sees a giant tanuki-type creature standing over it. If you pay attention to My Neighbor Totoro, they're in Sayama, there's a giant tanuki-type creature, only the girls can see it. They also can see soot sprites, which according to Japanese folklore you can only see before you die. The Neko bus's characters read Grave Road, and time is going backwards. So I'll give anyone who wants the link, I'll post it, but there's a theory going around that Totoro is actually a Shinigami coming to kill the girls. Yes. Yes. This is an actual theory. Yes, this is an actual theory. But going back to Heartwarming Totoro was necessary for more than just him reflecting on his youth, because it was paired up with this movie. It was a double feature. You start with this, you move on to Totoro. Like I said, palate cleanser. This was Takahata. Takahata said, I want to make a movie about post-war Japan. Miyazaki said, I too would like to make a movie about post-war Japan. Takahata says, what is yours going to be about, Hayao? It's going to be about the beauty of moving to the country for a simpler way of life. What's yours going to be about, Isao? A guy who dies because of the bomb. Why? Why not? The bomb. Yeah. How much of it have you done? Most of it. You can't put it out until I'm done with Totoro. You're going to stall, aren't you? Pretty much. Grave of the Fireflies is the other side of post-war Japan. You had people leaving the country, the city, to go into the country to find a simpler, more refreshing way of life after the horrors of war. You also had a group of orphans from the bomb blast that were dying in the streets of the cities on a daily basis. Grave of the Fireflies is critically, internationally recognized as one of the greatest depictions of post-war Japan, period. It is also the single most depressing movie you will ever see. Which is why you pair it up with Totoro. Watch this on a Friday night, it ruins your weekend. Watch Totoro, it ruins your Friday night. There you go. 1990s, everything changed. Economic boom, economic bust. Job, economy, there was one day that the Japanese economy became the largest economy in the world. It surpassed the United States for one day, and then it crashed like a house of cards. All the companies shutting down. Their inflated currency bottomed out. Everything went to hell. And it created this idea known as the lost generation. The salaryman concept, no, we don't want this. This is what destroyed our country. We don't like where our world is going. The birth rate is continuing to plunge. The idea of the NEET, the hikikomori, not in education, employment, or training, starts to rise. Technology goes with it. So there's a technological boost while the economy lies in shambles. Miyazaki, you could say he saw this coming because in the late 80s he did this movie. On the one hand, Kiki's Delivery Service is a story about solidarity, growing up, especially if you're a girl, finding your place in the world and becoming productive. If you're not a girl and you're watching this movie, it's Miyazaki's way of saying, it's okay. Really, things will work out. Everything's going to be fine.